The resonance cascade had had an awful aftermath on the population of planet Earth since it had happened. However, the effects of it were not limited to this single planet. Xen had also been affected by this dimensional rift, and this amount of destruction echoed across the universe. The Combine noticed that something unnatural had occurred, and they made their way to whatever had caused the resonance cascade. As they looked over Earth from afar, just out of reach, they saw that this was an intelligent race to conquer. Not only that, but this species already appeared to be at war with the species that had arrived from the other side of the dimensional rift. Earth's forces grew weaker by the hour due to the Xenian infestation. It is very likely that from this distance, the Universal Union used their advanced technology to observe how this planet was structured, how it had divided borders between nations, and where the weak points were in each of these. This was not the first time assaulting a planet, and at this point, they knew exactly how to dismantle a system that had grown over thousands of years. Then, the Universal Union decided to strike. The portal storms that still continued to appear across the planet became the perfect resource for the Combine as they manipulated them to send through the first wave of their army simultaneously across the globe. This move confused humanity even more and increased the fear of an already terrified and struggling population. These were new creatures. They seemed to be more intelligent and appeared to be a part of a coordinated attack. In New York, Striders roamed high above the city buildings and fired upon anything around them, and as those who attempted to flee this region ran away from the chaos, they watched in horror as the United Nations Secretariat building was demolished by an orbital strike. This action confirmed to each governing body of planet Earth that this was actually a coordinated attack from an intelligent alien force. This worldwide crisis changed Earth as humanity knew it. In chaos, the food banks depleted, everyone stayed inside to stay safe, and the stock market crashed. As the already struggling militaries of Earth fought against this new foe, they tried to figure out if the portal storms had been created by this alien force, or if they had just been manipulated by them. Were the creatures they had already lost a lot of the population to the first wave of this invasion, or something new? As a part of the United States government had known about Black Mesa's exploration of Xen and had prepared the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit to clean up the mess of the Black Mesa incident before it had even happened, many questions do pop up here. Did they alert the rest of the population of planet Earth of Xen and the difference between the Xenian creatures and whatever this new force was? How did they know that the Black Mesa incident was going to happen before it did? Was there a larger plan at play here? And was this planned? The Terminal and the Times continued to document what they could and sent out issues of their newspaper to everyone they could to inform them of the latest developments. In these issues, they reported that prominent biologists and zoologists believed that the giant tripod creatures that towered buildings and the various other units sent through in this new wave of chaos were a species distinct from the lethally aggressive creatures that the planet had already fought. Many felt helpless, and even the attempt to understand what had happened at least kept their minds active as the Combine decimated humanity's military forces. Humanity was weak, but they fought. However, after the Combine had destroyed the basic infrastructure of this planet, they sent through their next wave. Dropships brought in reinforcements, more tripods appeared, advisors, hunters, gunships, and many more. This was their actual invasion, and the human death toll skyrocketed. On top of this, the Vortigaunts also fought against this threat. This species themselves were survivors of this universal union and had found refuge in Xen, only for them to face them again. As the hours passed, Earth's resources reached a breaking point, and the Universal Union's forces continued to flood through from the portal storms. Then came one man that would become hated by the whole of his species, Dr. Wallace Breen. Breen had acted as the administrator of Black Mesa, and it was under his strict instructions that the experiment that had led to this chaos had been performed. To the rest of humanity, this knowledge was top secret. Dr. Breen contacted the United Nations, and he told them that he had discovered a way to communicate with their invaders. Wallace did not tell them how he had managed this. The war between Earth and the Universal Union had waged on for close to 7 hours at this point, and in this short time, the leaders that remained of each nation were desperate. Humanity was on the verge of extinction if something was not done. To save their species, the United Nations gave Dr. Wallace Breen the approval to negotiate for peace at any cost on behalf of all the national governments of planet Earth. With the United Nations' permission, Breen offered the Universal Union the complete submission of humanity in return for their lives. The Universal Union in turn accepted this offer, and thus the war stopped. This was by far one of the shortest wars in human history at a mere 7 hours, but it was also one of the most deadly. Yet, could it have been avoided? Dr. Breen had ultimately been responsible for the resonance cascade as he had pressured his scientists to perform the experiment. He had also somehow managed to discover a secret way to communicate with this alien force, and after he had formed this shallow offer of peace between the species, they declared him interim administrator of planet Earth, their spokesperson that would be responsible for relaying information and keeping humanity in line. This had worked out pretty well for him. On the evening of the end of this 7-hour war, Dr. Wallace Breen conducted a televised interview that was played across the planet. This was the first of many pieces of propaganda he would create for his new leaders. Breen explained that those who knew him would know that he was not a politician. He was a scientist that was just lucky enough to have discovered a way to communicate with their new leaders. Over the hours of this conflict, he had seen the data and the extreme nature humanity had found themselves in. His decision to offer submission was the only possible course of action.